Well, it's Happy Meal time at McDonald's. McDonald's Corporation is feeling the heat after workers file more lawsuits over charges of condoning sexual harassment, complaints to OSHA about workplace violence, on and on. I have legal journalist Mollye Barrows with the Trial Lawyer magazine to follow the story. Mollye, this is almost as bad as Wells Fargo.
Yes.
Pick up a paper on any day, and you're going to see that Wells Fargo has done another bad thing. You know, whether it's taking too much from a credit card or making up fake accounts. It seems to be in the food industry, McDonald's is the equivalent of Wells Fargo. What's your take?
Yes, they're in the crosshairs for several different organizations. So last week was an especially bad week for the Happy Meal maker. I can't imagine they were too happy with last week. More than 24 lawsuits and regulatory charges were filed against the corporation. There was also another complaint that was filed with OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, that says that they're allowing workplace violence. So that they're not doing enough to protect employees, I should say, from workplace violence. So that particular complaint was brought by a store in Chicago. And of course, McDonald's is based in Chicago. And they're basically saying they had all this interesting information about when crimes were being committed against employees, the types of problems that they were facing.
Okay, so tell me, what is the corporate, what's McDonald's saying? Like, sorry, we got it wrong, we'll make a better hamburger, buy our, I mean, what are they saying? I mean, at some point, here's the point. At some point, once this starts stacking up, it kind of is a pile-on.
I think that's what's happening.
And people start looking, next thing will be the $15 fight, you know. Yeah, that's what we're going to see next.
That's this labor group that's actually involved in both of these particular issues, whether it's sexual harassment in the workplace that McDonald's is condoning, they say, or it's, you know, the fair wage issue, or it's this workplace safety, you know, doing more to help protect employees and implementing policies. So essentially, McDonald's reaction to both of those is, well, these are franchises. We have long maintained that we're not directly responsible for these franchises. But some of these advocates for these other issues are saying, well, you know, you guys hold your franchisees hold their feet to the fire when it comes to business practices and marketing and accounting. So why can't you implement better training and more safety policies?
Here's what people don't understand about McDonald's. McDonald's doesn't really make their money on selling hamburgers. McDonald's Corporation makes their money on leasing the property to people who are the franchise holders. That's where the real money comes in. When this whole thing was put together, they decided, yeah, we can make a great milkshake and we can probably compete with Burger King and all the other folks. But where they really make their money is the money that franchise pays out to them for the property, the leased property. And because of that, McDonald's is one of the biggest property owners in America.
That's interesting. Yeah. Wow, they're a giant landlord of hamburgers.
They really are. They're more of a giant landlord than they are. And if you've eaten a McDonald's hamburger lately, you kind of get that we hope they're better landlords than they are chefs. Yeah,
well, that's true. Well, and I guess what's interesting to me is that you have the ACLU, the Me Too movement, Fight for 15, which is that labor group that's, you know, involved in all those issues, plus the low pay cause. And then Fight for 15 is also involved in the a complaint against OSHA, against McDonald's. And this has been like part of a year-long effort of just, or confrontation, if you will, between McDonald's and Fight for 15 alone. And then the past 3 years, McDonald's has had all of these, you know, lawsuits. And like you said, every time you turn on the news, they're either being involved with some sort of protest. People walked out last week out of 20 different restaurants.
Here's what people forget. It all flows from the top. It's like Wells Fargo, okay? Wells Fargo is always, they're always apologizing. Well, don't apologize, get new leadership. And when you get new leadership, things change from the bottom. The person that hires at the very top affects everything below. And so sometimes a corporation actually reflects that personality at the top.
Well, do you think this is like a Walmart situation where Walmart became like the poster child for we're not giving our employees health insurance and look at all the money they're making, and it's almost like they're trying to do the same thing with McDonald's?
I think exactly the thing's happening. It's almost like Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, they're they deserve it, don't get me wrong. They're awful folks.
They're iconic.
They're iconic for bad conduct, yeah. Mollye, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Pap.